Hi, my name is Jesse, and I'm here today to share with you my conversion story. If someone asks me what it is to be a Christian, I would say that we are witnesses to the resurrection of Jesus Christ. That is, He is living and breathing in our midst. That He is a real person that participates in our lives and the life of His church. He's not some myth from a storybook invented by somebody 2,000 years ago. If that was the case, Christianity would have long died. And people would not have given up their lives for this gospel message that Jesus Christ asks them to share with the rest of the world. But like any conversion, there's always a journey before. And so I admit that I was not always a witness to Jesus Christ. I grew up in a really Catholic home. I went to Catholic secondary school, and I did everything that was expected of a teenage Catholic. But yet, Jesus Christ was not a person in my life. He was more a character from doctrine, a character from religious studies. It would be a long while before he would become a person who I believe is alive in my midst. Now, somewhere around 17, I was so fed up with my faith. I felt that it was so repressive. I felt that it said, don't do this, do this. So as any young teenager, you want to rebel. So I rebelled against my ideologies. And I started to read books from more New Age movement, people like Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, and I started to replace the word God with universe, and I started to replace Holy Spirit with energy, and before you knew it, Jesse was now the center of the universe, and again, with that type of concept, you can expect that I became very selfish, and this selfishness grew and grew over the years. Then there was also a point in my journey where I dropped the New Age beliefs and I kind of just got caught up in the motion of life. I was a university student, so the only thing that concerned me was my university life and my studies. There wasn't much room there for God or for thinking of His church. I just became like an actor acting in a movie and forgot that I was acting in the movie. And it wasn't until in my last year of university where these questions about life and about existence and about God and about suffering and all of these elements of the human journey started to bother me. And I admit, I had no answers. And if I turned to my friends, each one of them had their own view and their own response to that and their own personal truth. So now I was living in a world where truth was relative. Everybody just had their position and their take on life. That did not satisfy me at all. And all of a sudden, I started to be hungry for the truth. So I started to search for the truth. And I realized that my life was so unsettled. But I would look towards nature, and I would look and see that a tree had its roots and was rooted. And I believed that we were a part of nature, and those same principles were a part of our lives. And it's something very simple, but was very profound for me. And I knew that I needed to root, and I needed to gain stability in my life. And I needed to find spiritual beliefs, because the part of my life that was most unsettled and the part of life that needed most rooting was my spirituality. Because by the end of university, I was more or less an atheist. I didn't believe in God. I believed that He was something that was invented by man to export their worry onto. And amidst now a kind of a vocational crisis, what am I doing with my life, that anxiety started to build even more. And the fact that I didn't believe in God just made it really a hard time. But my pride kept me from turning towards faith. But that pride eventually broke down after a year. It took a lot to break it down. But the fact is, I started to go back to church. And because I figured everybody had their beliefs in life, so all religions had said pretty much the same thing, so I decided to go back to where it began. And I went back to the Catholic Church. And after going to Mass after a couple of months every weekend, I started to feel a joy and a peace. Because now I had matured in my faith, and I started to see my faith as something completely different to what I saw before. I saw that it offered something concrete, something absolute. But there was still a problem. I still struggling in believing in God. Until one day I would go up to receive Jesus, but because I hadn't been to confession, I I didn't worry to receive Jesus. I just went up for a blessing. And the priest put his hand on me. And when I looked up at him, it was no longer the priest staring at me. It was Jesus Christ. He was so real, and his eyes was full of this love. And it just penetrated my being. Every single doubt I had about the church and my faith left me. I was a completely, entirely different human being after this experience with God's love. So my brothers and sisters, I'm telling you that just drop the perceptions that I also had of the faith. And just come back and be open to what the church says. And I'm telling you that it is really a place of love, of joy and peace and forgiveness. Yes, we're all sinners. Yes, we're all hypocrites. But at least we're striving for sanctity. So I welcome you back.